This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
We're coming to you from the grand old Windermere Hotel in Darjeeling. This one is as old as 1841, originally meant to be the home for the British during the colonial era. On my left is the gorgeous mountain range. I see it in a silhouette because the sun has just risen. It's a fine winter morning. And that's why I thought Out of England should come out of India. Why not take full advantage of the fact that I am in this gorgeous little town of Darjeeling, the hill town. And in front of me is freshly baked cookies, hot piping Darjeeling tea. For company, I have this fine English lady, Elizabeth Clark, who manages Windermere Hotel. And also with me is Imam Ali, who's been a tourist guide, born, brought up, raised in Darjeeling for the last, tourist guide for the last 40 odd years, 4 decades of experience. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And Elizabeth, we were chatting about how the NRIs are really attracted to this place and how it is just increasing the numbers and why they would feel this extraordinary connection with Darjeeling, the ones especially from British.
I think it's memories. I think it's all to do with memories. Sometimes they went as children maybe to overseas. Sometimes their parents were actually born here. And if they were in Bengal or West Bengal as it became, they would have come up during the monsoon season, which is in summertime. They would have come up for Diwali, which is in November. And their parents and their grandparents would have told them about this place. Maybe they themselves as small children came up. And it's one of those nostalgic things where they feel that they come here and it's not changed. It's never been renovated, it's just been restored. So pardon me, Radhika, but those aren't cookies, those are biscuits.
Oh yes, and there's a fine difference between the two.
Yes, and the scones aren't biscuits, they are scones.
Yes.
So it's our traditional afternoon tea. But back to the nostalgia, they like to walk around. They want to be shown where their parents went to school. They want to be shown various things that are still here. It means a lot to them that certain monuments, certain experiences can still be had upon their return. And for us, and most definitely for me as managing director, this is very, very important. It's my wish to stay authentic. The Americans have an expression which I like, wannabe, want to be. And we're not a wannabe. We've not made it old. It's already old from 1841. All we've done is just restored it. But it's still the old English boarding house it used to be, which is not anonymous. You're part of that. You're looked after. Someone said, it's like being in the nursery and Nanny is looking after me.
Sure. Now this one was first. This one first came up in 1841.
Yes.
That's much before tea was born here.
Yes, the 1870s, that's when tea came. It's because at that time 2 levels of government in what the British called Calcutta, which is Kolkata today, and the state government were not going to go to Shillong and Shimla, where the central government went, during the hot, sticky summers. So they persuaded the Shogel of Sikkim to lease this land to them and to annex it into what was Bengal. So in a flash, this area, which was Sikkim, was all part of India.
Correct.
And they came up during the summer times and any other time that they wanted just a cooler place, a place not as frantic maybe as Calcutta was in those days. So it was a home away from home, and that's what the boarding house was, and we hope and pray that it still is today.
And perhaps it will continue to be. And this is one of the most therapeutic parts of India. In fact, in the colonial era, the British called it the nursing center for people who came from war. They were meant to be here to be able to heal themselves because the energy around the hill of Darjeeling itself is supposed to be very, very therapeutic. Mr. Ali, we've seen a considerable amount of unrest in the last some time, and a lot of people in Britain were very, very frightened about this, because Britain runs on Darjeeling tea. They wake up with a cup of tea from here, and they sleep the night with one another. So there was this threat and this fear that the export from here would actually be jeopardized because of locals going on strike. You interact with people day in and day out. You travel. What do people really want?
Well, actually, seeing we have this particular hesitation started almost late, go back to 1985, where we had this guy called late Mr. Subhas Ghise, and he was the one who wanted to have this a particular name to be given to this place called Gorkha land, and Gorkha land was in the heart that we need our identity. We, the Gorkhas, we in the armies, we work for our nation, we fought for our nation, and we did such a good job. But at least we should have our identity, where our identity is. So he was looking to be, he gave a title as Gorkha land.
That slurp, that romantic morning cuppa that you would have, not of coffee, but of the world's finest tea in the world, from Darjeeling in India, is the one that Britain totally adores and loves, wakes up to, ends the day with. We come to you from one such organic tea plant in Darjeeling. This gives me great joy, because now is about 2 hours after sunrise that we have managed to get to this tea plantation. Like I said, this one is organic. Darjeeling tea is considered one of the most one of the finest, one of the most expensive in the world. A good Darjeeling tea can cost up to 25,000 rupees a kg, and Darjeeling produces 8 million kgs of tea per year. 60% of it is organic. With me is Dilip Da.
Yes.
Bilip Da. Sorry, Bilip Da. So Mr. Bilip, you have been working in a tea plantation for how many years?
I'm working here for 7 years.
7 years.
Yes,
okay. And where are you from?
I'm from here only.
You're from Darjeeling.
Darjeeling, yeah. I'm
Okay.
local here.
Now my question is, there was this threat that a lot of the tea that comes from Darjeeling in India to Britain could actually be probably jeopardized because of the local protests that we saw in Darjeeling asking for a separate statehood. How much did it affect the tea plantation, and what steps is the tea industry, workers like you, taking to make sure that the supply is not hit?
Because of actually the the wages of the worker is very low here, so that's why the people are going outside from the villages, leaving the tea plantation. So the production of the tea is very becoming low. Then
what are the wages? How many hours do you work in a day?
We have to work here for 1 day 8 hours for 167 rupees per day.
167 rupees per 8 hours.
For 8 hours.
Oh wow! And you want that to be increased to how much?
Yes, sure. We actually need the 500 rupees per day, because we have to spend our life with that money. We have to manage all the things. Our children go to schools.
And when was the last time this 167 was increased?
Last November. 2018 November.
2018 it was increased.
Yeah, it was actually 150 rupees, and then they increased 10 rupees, and then the next month in the November 7 rupees.
Can you believe that 167 rupees per 8 hours only is what tea workers here in Darjeeling get, and they have been demanding that their wages be increased because they can get a better quality life, and this is one of the most expensive teas in the world. So for something that sells for that much money, including exotic locations like Harrods, which has been trying to buy out Darjeeling tea to be able to sell it under its own label, despite that kind of demand, the workers are being paid very, very little. In fact, there is a famous story that the gentleman from Harrods was here to taste the tea. He fell in love with it. He wanted to buy it, but couldn't actually buy it and sell it under his own brand name in Harrods because people here wanted to retain their own branding. So you said this is organic, and much of it is becoming organic, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you fight pesticides and make sure that the plant is safe?
We have to clean the garden and we have to give the irrigation water, and we are using the cow dung also for that. Now if you came at the morning time here, you can see in the low in other places the every types of green leaves, green externally, I mean the green leaves, the grasses we have to take out from every bushes.
The grass needs to be taken. So this is a typical tea plant. It's of course just been harvested, and first week of March is when new plants begin to grow. I'd like you to just sort of take a peek. I'm hoping to get you something as personal as possible from here in Darjeeling. If you can just sort of peek through and see those gorgeous hills there, the Himalayas, which really in this region, according to the British, have some holistic energy, and that's why the British decided to settle here, to make this their meeting point, especially for soldiers who were wounded from the war. This was the healing point or healing center of sorts, and which is why the British sort of decided to make this hill station their recreation center. They traveled from East India Company, they traveled all the way from Kolkata. In those days it was so difficult for them to travel to Darjeeling, but they did that, and all of us know the world-famous Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, which the British constructed to be able to reach Darjeeling in a more easy manner. Now, the one thing that I have learned, and I don't know if many of you know this, there is apparently a science to drinking tea. You're supposed to hold the cup of tea, make a sound. You have to slurp. Sip tea. I wish I had tea in my hand. I just have the tea plantation to show you. But you're supposed to make that sound, because when you do that, you inhale that much more oxygen, especially if you were in a hill station such as this one, which has pure air. Then it gives you that much more breathing space in your lungs. And of course, the tea being one of the best drinks to be had in the world. 4 cups of tea, I read somewhere in a nearby plantation in your office, 4 cups of tea has the same number of antioxidants as 16 cups of orange juice. Well, OJ is something that London runs on, but this is a little piece that I thought I can get you on this very special edition of the show. I hope you sort of got an idea of what tea plantation is like, but hopefully the wages are increased, and it does justice to the people who work very, very hard in this very difficult terrain. Radhika Iyer signing off from this beautiful tea plantation from Darjeeling, and I'll end with a shot from the plantation just a little after sunrise.